Everyone back? Shall we start again?
I'm back.
Yeah, I'm here as well.
Great. So we can start it again. Okay, guys. Next concept is external relationships. So external object relationships. So first of all, what is external relationship? So external relationship is something that belongs to external objects, right? External data sources that can be included in Salesforce. So I'm not sure if how many people have actually worked on it, but before that, there is something called external data sources, right? So first of all, in Salesforce, you have to set up external data sources. So for example, I have all the information, the account to whom I'm working with, to whom I'm selling, and there is also a product which is also there in Salesforce, which the products which I'm selling actually to my customers. But I have a third party system that stores all the invoices for that product. Right? It's a very common scenario happening in a lot of products, a lot of projects, right? So now what can I do is I can set up a external data source, right? It's very simple to set up, right? We have, if both systems are, of course, can do GAG function, can actually support GAG functionality. So when we create an external data source, we have to define a URL, the endpoint URL through OAuth2.o. And once that is done, we can actually import all the data from a third-party system into Salesforce. So now, for example, once I set up my third parties as an external data source in Salesforce for invoicing, then I have created, either I can actually import the objects, import the tables from the third party system to Salesforce, or either I can create an external object named as external object. It has a very similar functionality how we create our custom objects, nothing very different, but there are two fields which are different called as external IDs. So goes something is a bit different from the custom object. But let's not go into detail. You guys can always explore it. It's not that something difficult. You can always explore it. There are some external points already available given by certain companies that you can always configure in your developer org, right? So for example, now once the data is already there in your Salesforce invoice, for example, now I have invoice, all the fields or the object is there, all the invoices are there, the data is there. Now, what next? So now, of course, I want to show that invoice to my actual account and my account, like how many products my account has purchased from me, and what are the monthly invoice or a weekly or a bi-monthly invoice for that. So that's where the relationship concepts come into the picture, and we call it as external object relationship, where we will relate Salesforce data with the external object data from the third party system. And go in depth on that, there are kind of a relationship that Salesforce comes up with by joining two database. The first is external lookup relationship, and the second one is indirect lookup relationship. Okay, so first, what is external lookup relationship? So that is to create a relationship links the data between your external object and another external object, right? And this kind of a relationship, external object will always be a parent object. It cannot be a Salesforce custom or standard object. It will always be a parent object. And at the child level, we can have a standard object or a custom object or another external object. So the key point is here is that we can have actually a standard object as a child object, the external lookup relationship. Now, what is indirect lookup relationship? So indirect lookup relationship creates a relationship. GAG links a child external object to a parent standard or custom object. So in indirect, we have parent as a Salesforce object, whether it's custom or a standard. External is always a kind of a child object. For example, I've given invoices. So invoices we have to show either under account or under products. So it's my child object, right? So it's in the indirect lookup relationship. Right? So that's how we have to create. There is a small table, of course, where we have I have try to define it's not something created by me, it's by Salesforce. This table is by Salesforce. You can just go to Trailhead and it's well explained there as well. One first type of external lookup, child object will be standard, custom or external, and parent will be external. Indirect, child object will be always external, there is no other option, and parent object will always be standard or custom. The point to be note here is tag, right? It's always comes in picture as I explained when you have enabled or you have created your external data sources, external object. Then only you can create. This is something with external resources, not within Salesforce.
One question here. So, will these are always available for use, or let's say external lookup relationship will only and only when we have external data as an objects.
Yes, whenever you have to create external data sources first, then only it will be enabled. It's enabled for your org, but it will only be enabled or you will be able to see it once you have an external data source as created in org, specifically external object.
Yeah, and this indirect lookup, will it be available on the same name or will it be with the name of say lookup relationship? What would be the name?
This is the name, external lookup and indirect lookup.
Uh, Indirect lookup will be available on standard and custom object towards the external object, right? Okay.
Um,
So
got
X, sorry, going up, but X always you can always see it on the external object. So if you are going on external object and you are creating a field, right, which will be associated with your account, which is a standard object, then you will only see this kind of a relationship in the external object while creating a field. You cannot see these fields in the standard object while creating a field or a custom object.
Yeah, because what I see is it says lookup rather than indirect lookup on my external object.
Sorry, I didn't catch you here. Sorry.
So I am on my big object and I am creating a field and it says a lookup relationship which says create a relationship that link the object to another object. The relationship will allow you to click to a lookup icon to select a value from a pop-up list. I am on an external object and the field name says lookup relationship, which shows me to choose any of the standard and custom object. So it doesn't say indirect lookup. So that's why I got confused.
So I don't know if there are three options. It's a lookup relationship, which is a relationship which is we have created in custom object, which I just explained, and then indirect and external lookup relationship as well. I don't know if you can see it.
Okay, maybe my
Seen it.
org is.
Yeah, but I have seen it myself, so pretty sure. Yeah, there was another question.
yeah, Gautam Hari this side. Maybe a off-track question. This external object, whatever the object we are going to define, it going to contain the subset data of the external system or a reference to the external system.
So you can always define a reference, and it can also create a subset of data as well. So you can always create external object without defining the external data sources as well. So for example, you don't want, you do not have an endpoint URL and you want to, integrate two systems, but want to store the data in the external object. So you can directly create external object and define the fields and start storing the data.
And that data will be always and always referenced from the external object. External system. Okay. Awesome. And one more thing, actually, we don't see, we see another screen. We see two slides right now, the current slide and the next slide. I'm not sure if you're sharing. Yeah, right.
Oh, just a second.
I also have few more points to. Yeah, now I see the whole desktop.
I'm changing it. Just a second.
No worries.
Now you can see the next slide as well, right?
Now we don't see anything actually.
Sorry. Share it again.
You can see the.
Yep, fine now.
This is good. And one more thing to ask here, and this is something which Manmohan was also reading. Find a reference and we hover over that, it means that the moment we click on it, it is going to take us to the external system. Again, off track question.
No, sorry, I still again got you completely, Hari.
So if the reference is there to the external system, if I'm going to hover on that, the moment I click on it, it is going to route me to the external system.
I think indirect lookup, right?
Gautam, do you have working experience with this? Okay. even I'm thinking about this, but I'm thinking out very loud right now. So yeah, I think it can be a very good way to handle duplication and also connect external system. That's a very good one.
Thanks, Gautam. Both ways it will work for me. It's better if I share the screen. That's okay. Um, so guys, please let me know if you are able to share, see my screen.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. So, okay, so my session will be on custom list views and files. So let's start with custom list views. As all of us know what custom list views are. So list views are basically the table of records for an object in Salesforce. So if I want to see something for accounts like my accounts, my active accounts, something like that, I can create custom list views for that. So for its visibility, we have to have several permissions on profile level, so which are highlighted here as manage public list views and create custom list views. And both of these permissions have their different impacts. Let's start with first permission, create customized list views. So if I have this permission, then if I don't have this permission, I'll not be able to um, create and customize the list views. Let's say if I have manage, if I don't have manage public list views, let's say if I have created any custom list view and I have managed, and the other user has managed public list views permission, then the other user can also edit and modify it and its visibility as well. So basically, this is the concept on profile level. And if I move further and I go how to share the public list views, custom list views, then we have these different permissions. So I can make any list view visible to only myself. I can share the list views to all the users, but we have to keep in mind if we share it with the with all the users, then it includes partner and customer portal users as well. So community users can also see the list views, and we can share the list views with certain group of users as well on the basis of public groups, roles, and territories, etc. So this is quite simple one. We can create the list views and depending on the permissions and we can restrict their visibility and accordingly the users can see and uh, make use of it.
Yeah. So Neha, one question here.
Yeah.
So when we create in a list view, right, it's just an uh, presentation presentation of the records. This does not drive any visibility part of it, or do you have anything to cover from that prospect? So what I mean here is, let's say I have a list which say all records, right?
Yeah.
Now, if my sharing and visibility is set to private, so even though it says all records, it will work as good as my all account versus my account will show me the same thing, right? It won't show
Yes.
me the additional things.
Yeah. It will not show the additional thing. Obviously, if I don't accounts, even read-only access to other accounts, then it will not fall into my accounts, all accounts list views as well. I'll not be able to, yeah.
Yeah. So this list view is all about creation of a list and who can see those views, right? With whom you are sharing that list view rather than sharing the records.
Yeah. So this is majorly about list views. Does anyone else? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. If you don't have access to fields, if you don't have access to records, you can't see them in the list views. Yeah. Any more questions or shall I move further?
We are good, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So next topic is Salesforce files. And Salesforce files are basically files are an object in Salesforce with API name as content document. So yeah, we can query on that. And from its sharing perspective, we can share the files in 3 different ways. It can be private, it can be privately shared, and it can be within the company, within the organization. So if I move to the first point, the private sharing is if the file is shared privately, anyone, no one else can see that file. So other than the person with whom it is shared. So yeah, Manmohan, you want to say something?
No. I'm going back to mute, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, all the access of other users are removed if the file is made private, except for the file owner and the users with modify all that data. So like if any user in the organization has modify all data permission, that person can see the file and the file can see the file. And if I share the file privately, if it is privately shared, the file has only been shared with specific people group via external link. It's not available for all users in the company. Only the file owner, user with modify all data or view all data permission, and specific file viewers can view the file. So if you see the difference between private and privately shared, in private only owners and users with permission of modify all data see the file, and privately shared view all data permission owners users see the file. So these are the basic differences between these two. And in privately shared, we can share the file with groups and we can share the files with external users as well via a link. So there are several different ways which I'm going to explain in my next slide, that how can we share the files with other users or group of users within the organization or outside the organization as well. And if we share the file with all, so anyone in the organization can see that file. So this is how it works. And the size limit, of course, is like it can the overall Salesforce organization size limit is 2 GB. So we cannot share anything more than that. And if I move to the question now, if I move to the sharing settings now, so I can share the file with any user and I can provide the viewer, collaborator, or yeah, so viewer will be read-only access and collaborator will be read and write access. And I can externally share with the file, share the file via link as well. So we can create the link here, and if I send the link to anyone, the person can see and download the file as well. So of course, owner can see the file and we can share it with the groups as well, or we can share the files privately as well. So these settings we can change and we can modify according to our users and use cases. So guys, any questions on file sharing so far?
Oh, please go on. Sorry. Okay. Regards to sharing of files, this is independent of the object. What I'm trying to say, I was thinking about several things. If I have, for example, master detail relationship, count, well, doesn't matter, X and Y, child objects are the content documents, the files. Is it independent of the, I'm not really, I guess I'm not really clear with my question. I was thinking, is it independent of sharing or accessibility to objects? It has some sort of like synergy with that. I guess if you don't have access to the object, you cannot access the files that are related to the object. Makes any sense what I'm bubbling right now?
So I think the sharing, the object permissions have nothing to do with file sharing. If I am sharing a file with you, so you will be able to see and download it.
Yeah, so two things are here, right? Let me pitch in a little bit. So
Yeah.
take example of a Salesforce Classic, right? Where we have notes and attachment. There we can upload the content, any file. It could be your Word file or a PDF file. And as soon as we move it to the notes and attachment, either it's on a parent record or if it's on a child record, whoever owns the record access, they will also have access to this. Now we have in a separate object called files and documents. Both behave similar way, where let's say whoever upload the file, anyone can upload the file if they have access to that tab. Now once we upload and the permission which Neha highlighted, we upload in a file over there. Of course, that file becomes private to us, and then we have an option to share it further, whichever way we want to share it. And as soon as we share it, and a backend shared records got created which maintain it. So it's nothing to do with any of the parent records. It is what to whom we are sharing it. If we are sharing it with the group, they all the entire group will be able to see it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
To add in that another point, what I heard is if you're creating the attachment will have the parent ID. So attachment can be associated with only one record, but files can be associated with multiple records. One file can be attached with multiple records.
Yeah. Thanks, Raja. So yeah, next let's move to the question now. So I have one question over here. Yeah. So
Sorry to interrupt. Just about files, actually. Hello, everyone. This is Gianluca. Sorry, I didn't present myself yet. So my question is about community. Work with communities, file sharing.
okay, so like if we share the file with the link or group, yeah, they are able to see the files. They can see the files.
So it's all about the link for them, for
I think so. I have to check on that, and I'll answer in the group for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe Hari can correct me because he used a lot of communities object. But
Yeah.
if the file is being shared with the external object and the external user has access to the external object, they can also see it, the file. And second option, as Neha said, if we send it over in a link, then irrespective of whether you are a user or not a user, as long as you have access to the link, you can download it or see it.
Absolutely right. I agree with you, Manmohan. So that is the way it works. So there are two ways, even also with the charter file. So if you're part of the charter group, you'll be able to see the files, one of the files which is posted in there. And if you are working with the files itself, and if those are shared with you as a part of the public group or as an individual user, you will be able to see it. The permission applies whatever Neha shared. So it remains more or less exactly the same.
Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So now let's move to the question which I have for all of you. So what if I have shared the file using the external link and I delete that link? So
Good question. I think it will say that the link does not exist. Keep in touch with the administrator, some generic message.
yeah, Manu, you are quite intelligent and you are right here. It shows this error. So yeah, I think that's all from my side. Yeah.
Yeah. And in addition to that point, Gautam, we also had the same. What we have done is we were able to get in touch with sales to increase the limit of files which can be uploaded. Did in the background now we are able to upload it without any issue. Now about the not only it can be 25 MB file and we have increased 1 GB. Not wrong, I'll get back to you about the numbers what we have increased. This way we have done it and we are using within the communities. Okay. In that so there are two nodes over here. One is the file, the number of files which we can store in the system in Salesforce, or the file size which we can upload under a single record or in one go. What are you referring to? You're referring to overall limit of the file storage, or the file limit which is imposed under one record? Okay, yeah, of course, that is going to be the case. But there is one more thing that we have to be aware about is that Salesforce.com is not file storage system. whenever there is requirement which is coming from business that they want to upload huge amount of files, please say no to them or use any exception like just like box or there are something that we have to post back. So in our use case, what I'll share with you that what we had we have a community which is for developers. So Canon, I work for a company called Canon, and SDKs which is provided for cameras and printers. These SDKs are huge in size, and these are .exe files. You can download it, and you can make the changes within it. And these are pretty huge in number. So that's why that we actually put the option of increasing the file limit by getting in touch with Salesforce so that we can store it and we can give option to the user to download it. But if internal people they want to store a huge amount of files within the Salesforce, that should be no. You should not be doing it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because Salesforce is not a content management system. So yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Okay.
Neha, anything else from your presentation?
Moon, I think that's
Okay, so if I can take the screen share. So first of all, thank you very much, Gautam and Neha, for putting all the effort. So I would like to thank you on behalf of our Salesforce group that put an effort, and it was really a very nice session. I have learned so many personally, and I'm sure everyone on the call must have learned something today. So thank you very much for all the effort. Guys on the call, we have next session on 8th Sunday next week. We'll be discussing about a little bit about coding. I'm sure you'll be interesting to know that how the Apex works behind the screen. How does it impact to your Visual Force pages when you bring the data to your custom UI? We'll talk about the backend classes with sharing, without sharing, as object a little bit, and your triggers, how those gets access to it. So upcoming session would be interesting. So far we have covered 4 sessions. Uh, First session was on a basic visibility, then user setup, licenses. We covered little bit groups and things like that. So if you have not attended the previous session, keep in touch with us uh, through our different channels, and we will try to help you. You can keep in touch with us. Any of these channels, you can take a shot of it. So please feel free to keep in touch with us. Do register for the next session, and we as in a group really appreciate your support, that you are registering for the sessions, sharing your experience with us. We really appreciate, and we are learning by your experience as well. So with this note, if you want to share any feedback, please go ahead. Otherwise, we'll close the session.
I had a question actually.
Okay, is that you, Saket? Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, it's to Gautam. Um, you mentioned right that master digital relationship. If security is whatever security will be there, that takes priority, and relationship mostly affects the look and feel. So in lookup relationships also, the same security should be the primary concern. Not primary concern. Like security, it gives you access to the record level, and then if you have the access, then only look and feel will come into picture.
Yep. So that's what I explained for the many-to-many relationship. So in many-to-many relationship, we have two relationship in the backend. First one with the first master object, which we call like as a primary relationship, and second with a secondary master object, which is called a secondary relationship. So for look and feel and some small other settings, it takes always primary relationship into consideration. But when it comes to the security model, it always take from both the parents, not only from the primary master relationship. And in terms of lookup, of course, we cannot have the complete look and feel of the master in the lookup relationship, and we cannot inherit the security as well. So if in your use case you are considering customized related list and security model and your roll up summary things, then definitely you have to go with the master key relationship. Like as Hari explained, there are certain use cases where it's better to use the lookup relationship instead of master key as well.
Yeah.
So it completely depends on the use cases. But 98 of the time which I heard, might be wrong, like people goes with master key relationship. But yes, as Hari explained, there are certain cases where now people are moving to look up because there are some consequences or limitation comes with the master key as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Got it. Got it.
Thanks, Akik.
Thanks.
Guys, any other question? If we can discuss together. Manmohan, over to you.
Another question, if I may.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
if I delete the parents of the master of the junction object, you said the child will be permanently deleted. It will be and placed in the recycle bin, right, for 15 days.
That's a standard functionality. Yes, definitely. You can. But if the concept is that if you delete both master together or within a fraction of second or within few minutes, then the record will be permanently deleted. It will not go to recycle bin. It is permanently deleted.
You cannot
In
just
that way, Salesforce understand that you don't need that record anymore.
okay. And another last question. I mean, this has the security model and the relationship model. It is not dependent on the type of license that you're using, right? For every license, whether it is charter license or everywhere, this it behaves in the same way.
Yeah, if you have access and you have a license to create an object, definitely you can create the relationships as well. But there are limitations like you can create two master detail relationship in one object and up to 25 lookup relationship in
Yeah,
per object,
yeah,
if I'm
yeah,
not
yeah,
wrong.
yeah,
The numbers.
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Manmohan, over to you.
Yeah, so guys, keep a note. If you have missed the presentations, keep in touch with us and register for the application, which is very important. So looking forward to see you. And if you have any feedback, please feel free to share it with us. It motivates us. It helps us to correct our course, to make sure that we are a more focused group within the right content. So keep sharing your feedback, and yep, thank you very much. Looking forward to see you for the next session. Thank you.
Okay, great guys. Thank you. Thanks. Great audience. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers.
Very clear. Hi, thank you.